This episode of Straight Up Dog Talk is proudly sponsored by our partnership with Swift Paws. As seen on Shark Tank and the winner of Best in Show at Global Expo, Swift Paws is on a mission to improve the lives of pets through safe, structured, and seriously fun mental and physical enrichment. Their interactive lure course kits tap into your dog's natural instincts, helping reduce anxiety, boredom, and unwanted behaviors. Whether you've got a high energy dog like my dog Fitz, or you're just a busy pet parent looking for a quick way to burn some energy, Swift Paws delivers. Fitz absolutely lives for chasing the lure, and honestly, I love the calm relaxation we both feel afterwards. These kits are app or remote controlled, easy to set up, and they work in any space, big or small. It's a total game changer for dogs who need to move and think. Stay tuned after the episode for more info, and let's dive in. Welcome to Straight Up Dog Talk. I'm Em, and we are back again this week with another amazing guest. This week we have Megan from Swift Paws. How are you doing today, Megan?
I am doing really good. Thank you so much for having me.
I am so excited to have you here. You guys, I discovered Swift Paws at Expo, and it has been a game changer for us. So I'm super excited to have Megan here today to talk about Swift Paws, what it is, and how it came to be. Why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself, your personal dogs, and what inspired you to create Swift Paws?
Long history there. I actually founded Swift Paws in 2012 after discovering the sport of lure coursing. I'm a lifelong animal lover, self-admitted total dog mom and only child. When I was 7 to 8 years old, I had worn down my parents enough that they got me my first dog. We affectionately called her my sister growing up because I was an only child. I did so much with that dog. If we saw agility on TV, I was putting broomsticks between chairs and we were doing agility. If I thought of something that we could do together, we did it. Kids are so unencumbered by expectations and the rules of the world. Her name was Snickers. She was a little fluffy white thing that I taught her how to read. I wrote sit, down, paw, and up on sheets of paper. And nobody believed it, but we have it on camera. So fast forward many, many, many years, I did not intend to found a dog enrichment company, but here we are. I stumbled across a sport which led me to create a product which ultimately has landed me to where we are today. You can't see, but I am in my little office at Groundswell Startups, which is a nonprofit startup incubator and co-working space. I have my girl Piper here with me today in the office. I get to do stuff like this every day, and it's amazing.
That is so cool. It's so much fun to hear these background stories and learn a little bit about how people got inspired. And I find that so many of us had these dogs when we were kids and we did all these things with them. And later on, that's the whole reason that we went down this road. And that's how it was for me. I think that it's really cool that you can carry that with you and have that be a part of your story, because that just shows that you continue to grow as a person throughout the years, but it also shows that your true core values are pretty much always there. Even when you are a kid, you just develop them as you grow.
And sometimes you forget about them for a while, like when I got a degree in economics and thought I was going to go into finance, and then you rediscover them if you're lucky.
Yeah, I did the same thing. I decided that I was going to go for human psychology, which kind of translates to animal care, but I did the same thing. I stepped away from my path for a while and then come back, and sometimes it just resurges. I think that is really neat. What you have created is such a cool thing, and Fitz is obsessed. So why don't you tell everybody about how it works, and then I'll tell everybody, including you, because you haven't heard about what happened this last weekend.
Okay, I'm so excited. I got a sneak peek of Fitz playing with it. Let's talk about what it is, because it's a little complex. And if you've never heard of the sport, the canine sport of lure coursing, you might not know. I think easiest way to relate to it is that everybody has heard of greyhound racing, where you have these big, powerful sight hounds that are chasing after fake prey. And that is at its core what we are doing with Swift Paws. However, big caveat, we are doing this 100% for the pet's own entertainment, enjoyment, and to give them healthy outlets for their energy and natural instincts. So you take what has been a very humanized sport and something that is not done entirely for the dog's own well-being. But what even greyhound racing does is it taps into a lot of our pets' natural instincts to want to chase and to hunt. That is the motivating factor. So when I discovered the sport of lure coursing, I had at that time the dog that was the first dog that I had gotten on my own accord, right? So the dog I grew up with, my parents sort of chose for me. And I thought they were going to come home with a lab. I'm thinking big. And in comes this fluffy white thing. I loved her so much. And she was clearly a poodle mix before those were popular. And she was so intelligent. And I quickly looked past the white fluffy fur and made a deep connection with her. But then you'd think, okay, so the first dog that Megan's going to get is that outdoorsy, very active dog. And then I ended up getting a miniature pinscher. A little more stubborn. I like to say that he didn't really like other dogs. He liked people, but he wasn't a huge people lover. He did agility for me and for the treats. He was very food motivated. And I loved that little dog. His name was Pretzel. With all of my heart. I got him when I was 16 years old. Very transformative time in my life. And that was my sidekick. I was doing dog agility after graduating with my degree in economics. I was doing agility over the summer. I was never very good at it. Pretzel and I just did it for fun. I was talking to my agility trainer and I said, what other sports can we try? I was kind of starting my entrance into performance sports and what else out there can we do together? And she's the one who told me that the most fun she'd ever had was lure coursing. I didn't even know what 2 words she said. So that was my introduction to what lure coursing is. And what it is lure, think of like a fishing lure, right? That's why they use the term lure. And coursing, you think of running a course. You're running around a set course. So what our product does is it takes what was a very heavy duty industrialized sport and it scales it down. Originally, we made it just for trainers and doggy daycares and clubs, but now we even have a number of backyard versions. And later this year, we'll be shipping an indoor version for cats and little dogs. It's scaled down. So you set a course up, think of a clothesline pulley, but on the ground. So you've got a pulley system, you're running a string through those pulleys, you make zigzags, you make turns anywhere you want to in your yard or in your home, and then you physically control the speed and direction of the lure or fake squirrel as it goes zipping around and your pet gets to chase and catch, which is so important that they catch to their heart's content. And that is, in a nutshell, what lure coursing is. Of course, as a sight hound competitive sport, it is judged on a number of criteria. That then developed into an all-breed sport. There are now multiple all-breed sports for coursing. Fast Cat for AKC and CAT. You have precision coursing with UKC. You have drag race for CPE. And there's probably more popping up all the time. But I got really lucky because the year that I founded Swift Paws was the same year that the American Kennel Club introduced Fast Cat. So all of a sudden I had a machine that was really well built for all breeds and all sizes. And there was a sport that needed a machine built for all breeds and all sizes. So that was really a serendipitous thing for me and the trajectory of Swift Paws.
That was really serendipitous, just perfect timing. I feel like things align when they're supposed to. So that must have been a huge validation, confirmation that what you were doing was just the right thing in the right time. How awesome. I compared it to a zip line that goes both directions. You tie the little bag on it and it just zips around and you can make it go right or you can make it go left and you can slow it down and speed it up. So we set it up in our backyard this weekend for the first time. And I set it up in kind of a rectangle shape. My yard is not very even, so I had to pick a spot that was mostly even. But I do like that you can adjust each of the pieces, so I was able to get the line where it was tight enough and it wasn't dragging on the ground. Fitz saw it go by the first couple of times and he kind of watched it and I was just like, okay, are we not gonna? And then he just took off. He just took off. And I was like, okay. And he did just run in circles for a bit. And then I was like, are you getting dizzy? Are you okay? And he would kind of slow down and then he would watch it again. Here's the problem with having a border collie. He's so dang smart. So dang smart. So very quickly, I find that my dog is trying to outsmart the game. So he is standing over a section of the line and pouncing on the flag as soon as it gets to him. But it's going so fast, it just zips right underneath him. That's another thing that I really like about it is that when he gets tangled up in it or he steps on it, it stops. It turns off. That safety feature is obviously really important because we don't want rope burn. We don't want cutting through skin or anything like that. I was unaware that it did that. And I was like, oh, it turned off. Okay. So that was great. But we ran the battery out 3 times. I mean, he got in about, I think, we had his thigh collar on. So I think he was at about 8.5 miles of running.
God.
By 6 o'clock.
A border collie running through fields with sheep is probably going to do that or even a little bit further in distance. But how do you achieve that in a backyard without something motivating them?
Yeah, normally we have a ball that we kick or balls that we throw. Fetch gets boring though, right? It's the same thing over and over and over again. And with this, I can change the direction. I can change the speed. Do I put the flag on it? Am I going to put the toy on it? What am I going to do? I think that was the really cool thing about it. For the listeners, we're going to talk about what's called the predatory sequence. And what that is it's a series of genetic behaviors that dogs display when they are on the hunt. I think that's probably the simplest way to put it. Do you have an easier way to put it than that?
Yeah, no, it really is a sequence, or you can think of it as a cycle because it has a start point and an end point. And not every single animal is going to express every single part of that sequence. And some may have a larger affinity to one part versus another. Like Fitz being a herding breed might like some parts of that sequence more than a dog like Piper, who's a pointer. They are not all going to exhibit every single stage of it, but it is a sequence and it does have a start and an end and then a natural progression.
Yes. I brought up the natural progression so that I can read it for you guys, and then you can all Google it and look into it if you want. This is something that we do teach in dog training, and I want to make everybody a little bit aware of this because this will help you when you're doing enrichment stuff with your dog. So it's orienting, eyeing, stalking, chasing, grabbing or biting, killing or biting, dissecting, and consuming. Those are the steps. And I'm not going to give you guys all definition for each one. Please do your homework. Just Google predatory sequence in dogs. It will bring up a whole bunch of information. There'll be charts, pictures, all kinds of things. But we will go over a couple of them because I got to see some things in Fitz this weekend that I have never seen him do before because he hasn't had an outlet to express these. As you mentioned, he is a herding dog. He also has some other breeds in him. It's got kind of a nice little mix. We had the eyeing because he would stand there and he would watch it. And he literally just stood there like a little statue and watched it.
Border collie stare.
Yeah, and he picked up his little paw and he just stared at it. And I was like, okay. And then I saw his whole body tighten up and then relax. And I knew that he was going to start moving. But what I thought was going to happen was he was going to run. And he didn't. He started stalking. I have never seen him stalk before. It was so cool. He looked like a little dog panther. He's just like creeping slowly up to it.
Shoulder low.
Yeah, really low, and his tail end was up, and he was just in this almost feline position. And then he ran, and I was just like, whoa. And I don't know, if you guys have never seen a border collie move before, they have this like tail end whip thing that they do when they turn. And he does this when he plays fetch, but it was even more obvious with the chase because I had made some very tight corners for him. And so his back end would just like whip out behind him. And then the next thing you know, he's just shooting off in the other direction. And I made it big enough so that he would have to make that tight turn and then basically run at the opposite corner. It was just so cool. A lot of sports dog parents are going to appreciate this conversation because watching our dogs' bodies move and how muscular and mechanical and just the beautiful flow and grace that they have when they are in it. It was just the coolest experience to really see him kick into those genetics and just bolt after that thing. I was not expecting to see that. He chased it, obviously, but he did jump on it and try to grab it and bite it. And I was just like, oh my gosh, this is so funny. He never quite caught it because, like I said, the line keeps moving and I didn't stop it because I knew that if I stopped it, he would probably rip the whole thing out of the ground. But he had the best time. And after we played for several times that day, we stopped, we would charge the battery, take a water break, hang out, take a little nap. But it was about 6:30. He was done. TKO, out on the bed, right next to my leg, snoring so loud. And I was like, why did we not know about this thing 7 years ago? Probably because it wasn't created yet.
It took us a while to get the backyard version for sure. But that's what you mentioned too, because you played in shorter sessions, shorter duration. But multiple times throughout the day, science knows that dogs have energy reserves and that they don't always tap into them. So if you're thinking about in nature, that they're going to tap into those energy reserves and go into this different state of consuming and using energy when they feel like they have to give a little bit more. So that would be if they're traveling or if they are on a longer duration hunt. An activity like this, even though you're only playing and engaging for a few minutes and then resting, when you go back to it the second or maybe even the third time, now they are actually tapping into some of those reserves. And I think you'll find that a lot of times they'll get hot before they get tired. And I'm so safety conscious. Actually, also having come from a bit of a performance sport background, I'm worried about warming up and cooling down. And I want to make sure that I'm not just going all out with a dog that maybe has been a couch potato its whole life, but especially when you have an active breed and you have a dog that has some well-defined muscle, they know how to use their bodies. It's so impressive to watch them really control their bodies. And once they get over the initial, oh my God, I want to go crazy for it, then the brain kicks in. Like you said, first he ran for it and then he started thinking about it. And that it gets so cool. And I would encourage you, if I have one piece of advice, is don't be afraid to let him catch it. Yes, he might completely destroy the string and he might chew up the flag. But I love, especially in the beginning, to let a dog catch it almost as much as they want to, because it does this thing. And over time, I've developed like my theories on it. It does this thing where it helps them understand that this is a game, because then it's dead, right? If they catch it, it's not doing anything and they'll have their way with it, but then eventually they drop it. And then they realize, oh, it's not going to engage with me if I'm possessing it. If I'm grabbing it or standing on it or chewing on it, it's not going to keep running. And so I like to say that we're sort of converting that prey drive into play drive. Then they understand, like, okay, this isn't a real rabbit, first of all, and it is really fun to catch, but it's also really fun to let it go again. And then they start to catch and release, and you might lose like a few flags in the process, but just like, we'll send you more, don't worry. And that offer goes to anybody. If you have a dog that is very hard on the flags, I like to encourage people to try doing a catch-a-palooza, where they're doing more catching than chasing. Because what they do is they sort of get it out of their system. They go, okay, the catching and the possessing and the shredding and the dissecting is super fun, but I also really enjoy the chasing. Oh my, dog interruptions are the best interruptions. Oh, there he is. Did I know you're talking about me?
Energy. He's ready.
Dog interruptions are the best interruptions. They really are.
Yeah, no, we don't apologize for those on this podcast, because if they need something, we need to take care of it.
They do. And I love that you call it straight up dog talk, because so much of life is like making stuff look good for Instagram or whatever. And you know what? There's some real shit sometimes that is there beneath the surface, and you feel free to bleep me out. But what I mean is, it doesn't always go perfectly, and life doesn't always go according to plan. And the same thing when you're setting up Swift Paws, right? There's going to be shenanigans. They're going to catch it. It's a game. It should be fun. You should enjoy the time that you spend with your dog. You should be able to laugh off the little things when things go wrong, because guess what? They're going to go wrong. Even Piper, normally when we come in here, she's got the option of a bed, a Swift Paws bed on the floor. She's got the couch. And what is she doing right now? She's laying on the laminate floor in my little office. I've given her plenty of options. Normally she likes the couch, but today she's decided she wants to lay on the floor. And that's just life. And it's a beautiful part of life. So I like when you see beneath the layers a little bit, because people shouldn't think that it's all perfect.
No, and I completely agree with you. And that is why Straight Up Dog Talk started. That is why I started educating on my personal account and on Straight Up Dog Talk, because I got tired of what Instagram and TikTok were. It's this candy coated, beautiful, aesthetic life with dogs. And that's not how it is. It's dirty. There's shit. There's dog hair. There's mud. There's dirty furniture. There's dirty blankets. There's slobber. There's dirty dishes. It's not a perfect beautiful life with dogs. The vacuum runs 5 times a week. It is what it is. And I think that we need to address these things because now all of a sudden we have these first-time dog owners that have no idea how much work goes into training, cleaning, any of it, because they see this beautiful vision on Instagram that is not reality. And I could not stand for it anymore because too many people are taking dogs back to shelters because they didn't know they had to potty train a dog. They didn't know their dog didn't know how to do this or this or this. You're literally basically bringing in a foreign stranger. This is a sentient being. It has thoughts, it has emotions, it has its own genetic responses to things, and it's going to do what its brain knows how to do. That's like somebody coming from France, coming up to me and speaking French and expecting me to know how to respond. I don't. I have no idea what you're saying. I might be able to get a word here or there just because culturally we know what we means or whatever. But beyond that, I missed everything you said. So when you're talking to your dog, I tell this to my clients all the time. You know those Charlie Brown cartoons when the adults talk and it's like wah 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 wah. That's what we sound like to our dogs, unless they know because we've trained them what we're talking about. They're tuning us out because we sound just like the adult in Charlie Brown, and people don't know that. They don't understand that, and it's wild to me that people have decided that I'm just going to go get this dog, let's say a Malinois, because I like the way that it looks and it makes me look tough and it'll look good on this black leather couch that I have. Well, good luck with that. That's all I have to say.
And it's not just Instagram. Maybe they met a Malinois in person that was in public, laying down at a cafe, perfectly well behaved. And in those moments, you don't see the hours of investing into that dog, understanding the human world in a way that it knows what behaviors are and aren't acceptable. I'm doing air quotes because really it's a human construct. The way that we expect our pets to behave in our homes, in public, with others is truly of our own making. And that's not to say that some dogs aren't more naturally inclined to adhere to those rules, but they don't know. It's not like they get a rule book that they can understand.
Yeah. And it is very much like having a child, right? When you have a baby, you have to teach your baby to speak. You have to potty train your child. You have to teach your child to put on its own clothes. Now, we can't do that part with dogs, but similar things, right? There are things that we have to teach our human children, especially when it comes to manners. All of those things that we have to teach our children. If we didn't teach our children those things, they would never learn them and they wouldn't be able to communicate and integrate into our society properly. And that's the same thing we have to do with our dogs. And I don't know why that is such a missed topic, but it's missed all the stinking time. And that's why enrichment and play and all that other stuff is missed so much, because people don't get past the first part and then understand that, again, these are genetically appropriate things that our dog is doing, and we are not finding ways to meet them. You mentioned earlier about the body of the dog. Fitz is a beast, all right? He is all muscle. We have a big backyard. We play a lot of fetch. We have an agility course that we set up in the summer. Some of it is in the house in the winter. When I had my foot broken this last winter, we have stairs. And so we would set up agility course and we would use stairs to run up and down the stairs. So he stayed physically fit. But I'll tell you what, playing with Swift Paws this weekend and getting him out there and running with it, I don't think that I have ever seen Fitz say, I am tired, until the last time we went out there to play. And he chased it for about 5 or 6 minutes. And then he walked away and he got his ball and he laid down. And I was like, what is happening right now? I've never seen this happen before. You've never just said, okay, I'm done.
That's enough. Yeah.
Yeah. You guys who have listened regularly know that he is ball obsessed. He loves his ball. He ran around Swift with the Swift Paws, the flag running, with his ball in his mouth the entire time. I was just like, you are such a goof. What a nerdy thing to do. But if that's how you want to play, then that's how you want to play. And I think that's another thing, is that people try to control too much how their dogs play. when it should be about how your dog wants to play, how they want to exert their energy. It's the same thing with walks. We're not a big, we go on walks regularly because Fitz hates them. He wants to be where he knows he's safe. And if that's our little home area, that's fine. We have a fenced in backyard. We have lots of things we can do. We can play in the side yard next to us is attached to a church. There's nobody ever over there. We can go out there and play in that area too. We can play in the front yard. He's totally fine. He doesn't need a walk because we have so many other things that we can do. Again, that's a part of our brains where we have convinced ourselves this is the way we need to do it. We need to walk them, we need to play with them, we need to feed them, we need to do it in this order, blah, 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 blah. When really we should just be listening to our dogs and trying to figure out what it is they would like to do instead.
It's so true. And also on the topic of what you should do, right? There's so many shoulds. And when we think about pet wellness, when you first bring home that pet, whether you've adopted them from a shelter or a rescue, or whether you have just brought home that 8-week-old puppy, our brains go into this mode of what do I need to do for this pet? And I think we naturally, even if you're an experienced pet owner, right, you have your traditional, that would be nutrition, right? What am I going to feed it? That would be your medicine or your health. So where is it at in the vaccines? What vaccines do I need to give to it? What type of preventative care? So that could be flea and tick, whatever. So you go to health and medicine. And then you might think a little bit about training, potty training, or things on that instantly. Where does your brain first go? I think that sort of the missing pillar of wellness is everything else that you're going to do with and for them that serves them as much as it serves you. And that's the piece. Like when we think about training, we're really, especially initially, thinking about how do we get them to exist comfortably in our world. So how do we teach them the human rules? And so many times we're not also thinking, okay, specifically, how do I get to know this unique individual, this dog, specifically this one? Because I might have had 10 border collies before. This one's going to be a little different. You don't know how yet. I guarantee it. So how do I get to know this dog on their terms so that I can best adjust I like to call it a toolbox, right? You should have more than one enrichment tool in your toolbox. You should have more than one training tool in your toolbox so that I can reach into my toolbox and grab out what I think is going to serve this unique individual's needs best.
Yeah, I completely agree. Very common misconception is that people forget that dogs are unique. They are individuals, and we do need to learn about them. It's very easy for me to display on my Instagram because Toby, we call him the little potato man because he is the lazy little Chihuahua Terrier mix. He's 13, 14 years old, and he doesn't want anything to do with it. We turned on the Swift Paws when he was out there, and he took one look at it, and he ran into the other room. He was like,
nope.
"No, thank you. Nope. I know I'm probably going to get trampled in this situation, so I'm out of here." And that's fine. He can go do whatever he wants to do. He has a bed on the porch. He has the ability to jump up in the chair and hang out and just enjoy the beautiful weather because we had a gorgeous weekend, and that's fine. And I'm not going to force him to join in because he doesn't want to, and that's perfectly okay. And I think that people need to realize that Fitz was that dog for me. I had never had a dog that was so pent up, so wound up all of the time until I got him. Now I know so many things about genetics and behavioral stuff and trauma that can pass down. There's so many things that make more sense about how he is and who he is. But to your point about enrichment is there are so many things that we can do for enrichment. And there are a lot of really great toys and tools and stuff out there. The My Wolf Popsicle, that's one of our favorite things. Lick mats, they're great. You guys, those should be finishers. Those should be wind downs. Those should be the thing that they do after they get that physical and mental enrichment in to help them self-soothe, bring themselves down, and then get themselves into a nice nap or whatever. Using a lick mat for the solo purpose of their mental enrichment, it's not enough, guys. It's not enough.
It speaks right back to what we were talking about with the predatory sequence. To connect the dots there, I've started to really think about it as enrichment stacking. Think about building a tower. And if you think about it in terms of the predatory sequence, if you've got that high energy dog that's pent up and bouncing off the walls, and it's been raining for a week, and if we don't do something, I'm going to start seeing behaviors that I don't like. because they're going to take that energy out somewhere. You want to first meet them on their level. So if they're bouncing off the walls, a calmer activity like a lick mat or a longer lasting chew, it's just not going to cut it. You're totally right. So what I've started to do is really think about, okay, how can I add activities in the right order to meet the predatory sequence, knowing my dog and what they prefer, because some might not like to chase, right? That might be your potato man, might not enjoy that part. So why try to put him through it? Absolutely. So think about the sequence and your individual pet, and then find 2 or 3 activities to step them through the parts that they like. And then you're going to get to that consumption phase. So for me, I relate it to the dog. I've got Piper in here, the office with me. She's going to be 9 years old this year. She's the easiest dog. And then I have Melon, the younger dog who's turning 2 years old this year. When you talk about things like genetics playing a role in anxiety and sometimes reactivity, this is a puppy that I've just gone through this with. I adopted her out of a rural shelter in Texas. I've had her since she was quite young, and I saw her genetically go through this aging process. And we do have some anxiety, some fearfulness, some reactivity. I've been on this journey myself with her, and I've come to learn that it's better to let her do a high intensity activity. We might throw the ball. We might play with swift paws. We might go outside, burn off some zoomies. I might play with the flirt pole if it's raining and I need to be indoors. I've got a little dog room, as I call it, and it has a little bit of cleared out space with a rug because I'm in Florida. We've got a lot of tile. So I let her zip around on that rug. Then I'll step into something that's a bit more of that dissecting. So we might catch it. We might play with our Terribles toy where the arms and legs pull off. We can put it back together again. But these are all together toys. So for Melon, especially being young, if I left one of those toys with her, she would then go into full dissection mode and I'd be left with nothing but fluff. If I want her to have a dissection game that is something that I can leave her with or something that I'm not worried about her fully destroying, I'm a big proponent of you don't have to spend a dime. I make and sell high quality enrichment toys, and I love it when people are willing to and able to purchase them, but you literally don't have to spend a dime. So one of my favorite enrichment activities that combines a little bit of that sort of dissecting that so many dogs love to rip and shred is I'll take an existing toy and I'll wrap it up in some paper. And then if I'm really thinking ahead, I'll put it away for a week. Because not only do they get to then unwrap it themselves and shred and unwrap the paper, they also get toy rotation. I'm big on toy rotation because an old friend is a really fun new toy. So then they get to rediscover a toy that they already know and love, but it has this extra layer. Or I'll do half a head of cabbage or lettuce. Go easy on the cabbage if they're really a consumer, but some lettuce is always a really good one. Anything that they can shred and rip up that you're not also worried if they do consume. Some of it is a great dissection game. And then we'll step into something like, now it's time for the lick mat or the puzzle toy. We actually love Posler because they're reconfigurable.
I can't wait to have her on later this year. I'm obsessed with it.
It's going to be incredible. The conversation that you'll have with Aina, founder of Posler, she thinks about things in the next level. And this idea that you can change up that puzzle every time makes it a new and novel game every time. And novelty is so important too, right? Just doing something a little different makes it a whole new game. And then that's when it's very appropriate to do the longer lasting chew. So I might do the better bone, or I might do the yak canine chew, and she's ready for it. If I tried to stick a chew in her mouth because I had a call first thing and she's bouncing off the walls, like she's not going to chew on it for more than a few seconds. And then she's going to go find something active to do. But if I step her through the predatory sequence, and it honestly takes me 10 minutes, I can play with that flirt pole or swift paws or throw the ball for 3 minutes. Then I can step into the next activity, which takes 2 minutes. Then I can step into a lick mat, which goodness, she'll finish in a minute. And then I give her the longer lasting chew. And by the time we're there, now you're getting the benefits of chewing, which is releasing endorphins. And it's a settling activity. And next thing you know, she's snoring. And boy, nothing makes me happier than to see my dog fully satisfied, passed out with that unconscious smile on their face. It's bliss.
It is. It is bliss. We actually did an entire episode earlier this year on trash enrichment and how to use things out of your recycling bin to let your dogs just shred and discover. I'll send it to you. I have a reel up where I took an Amazon box and I have fruit roll-up box and candy bar boxes. Yes. And a bunch of toilet paper rolls, and I stuffed them all up, and then I put it on the floor and I let him have it. It probably took him an hour to take the whole thing apart, but he went ham. He loved it, and he was tired afterwards. I live in Iowa, so we don't get beautiful weather all year round.
Yeah.
We have to come up with creative things to do inside because we can't always have that outdoor outlet when we have 3 feet of snow and it's negative 30 degrees out here. There are definitely so many things that you can do. And that's why I'm so excited about Posler because, again, my dog is too smart. Okay. I have tried the putting a toy away, but I'm going to try the wrapping it up in paper because I feel like that would be a little bit of a thing. We have this toy that's it's a ball that's hollow and it's hexagon shaped and it has little mini hexagons in it. Okay. And then it has felt inside of it that comes out in strings. And then you roll the treats up inside and stick it out of all of the little holes. The first couple of times it was awesome because Fitz would pull each little section out. He would unroll it with his nose and he would get the treats. The third time, that motherfucker picked it up. He shook it like as hard as he could, and the treats just went everywhere. It was just an explosion of treats and food. And I was like, well, we can't use that one anymore.
He went
shortcut
to play it on easy mode. He was like, I figured this out. But Piper loves puzzles. I probably have almost every puzzle known to man that you can commercially buy for dogs, and I like to make them too. And I say that for most traditional puzzles, after she's played with it 2 or 3 times, it takes me longer to fill it than it takes her to finish it. Mm-hmm. It's like, wait a minute. And look, I get my own enrichment planning out the puzzle, but when it's taking me 5 minutes to like put treats and everything, and then she's finished with it in 3, I'm like, okay, I'm not getting the return on investment here.
That's truly how I felt about that toy. I was like, you've got to be kidding me. I just spent probably 10 or 15 minutes rolling up because there's like 100 of them. You roll them up all in there. And it didn't even take him 5 seconds. And I was just like, what? I thought I had a minute to get some work done. No, that's not how it goes.
The thing too is like, the best laid plans. And we were just chatting before we hit record about like our personal journeys with these dogs that challenge us because, when you first get a dog, like we get them because we want the companionship in life, and of course we have dreams for them, and of course we have this construct of what life is going to be like for them and for us together. And then, because they are individuals, reality doesn't always match what you thought it was going to be. First of all, that's okay. To anybody who's listening who has a dog that you might label. There's so many human labels, right? A problem dog, a reactive dog, 99% of
stubborn
dog, a dog that doesn't listen. All of this human stuff that we put on them, 99% of life with a dog with any of those labels can be brilliant and wonderful and satisfying for everybody. Does that mean that it's going to be easy? No, it takes a lot of work and it takes a lot of watching them. My biggest thing is I've learned to really pay attention to my dogs and to watch them and to try to notice what works and what doesn't. One of the best dog training tips, because I'm not a dog trainer, but one of the best dog training tips I've ever heard in my life is that they will continue to do what works. And what works could be what got a treat from the human. What works could be the hot dog off the countertop. What works could be I wanted to go outside and I barked my head off and the door opened. And so when you think about any behavior at all, anything at all that works, because it's a relationship. So I try now to just watch them and their behavior and their reactions. And if it's not working, it's on me to try to change that. Maybe the environment's too big. Maybe we've crossed the threshold. Maybe she's not comfortable anymore. Maybe we were comfortable yesterday, but we're not comfortable today. That has helped me so much come through my own little learning journey.
The biggest thing is that a lot of people don't realize that they are a contributing factor to their dog's behavior. And once you can be like, my bad, I contributed to that. Let's fix that. Let's work on that. That changes everything. That's when everything starts to change. But you have to take responsibility for your own actions and your part in the behavior in order for you to find a way to progress forward.
It's so true. And so many times we certainly think about the world in black and white. We think about, okay, we have to do it this way, or it's got to look like that. And when you realize that it doesn't have to be, and there is really a wide range of what it can be and what a relationship with your dog can look like. The other thing that I really have learned is patience. It's incredible how Swift Paws, this company, has really helped me on that journey. One of the coolest things I get to do a number of times a year is run a lure course as a demo for the public. So that might be at a charitable event. We do one every year for a charity in Orlando called Pet Alliance, and we run 3 courses and they raise money. All the proceeds go back to the charity, and it's a fun way to let the attendees have something to do with their dogs, because most of the time you've got vendors and you might participate in a costume contest, but there's not a whole lot for the dogs that are going to these events to do. And so it gives them something to do. It gets a great fundraiser. And I get to watch over the years that I've been doing this, probably over 100,000, no exaggeration, people and their pets see something like this for the first time. And there's a wide range of reactions to it. And there's a wwide range of the person. The person, they go into the middle of the course, and I've honed it now over time. So I let the human know, because communicating to the human in the beginning is the most important part. I'm not worried about the dog. I want the human to be aware of what's coming. So I tell them, hey, my theory with a first timer is you want what you can't have. So I want you to hold on tight. I'm going to tease them just a little bit so they see what's going on out here. And I'll tell you when to let go. Because most people don't understand that if they let their dog go right away and the lure hasn't moved yet, they're going to start sniffing. You've just turned me loose at the dog park. Great. I'm going to go socialize. I'm going to go sniff. I'm going to go pee. I'm going to go take care of what I normally take care of. But if I took the time to explain that, I've got a line a mile long. So then they hold on, and I'm watching the dog. So I'll start running the lure back and forth. And some dogs, it's lights on, let's go. And others take a minute. And what you see is you see them go from orienting. They're using their eyes, they're watching. What was that? Oh, and it's going back and forth. And then it turns into, that's interesting. And then it turns into, let me ask it. And if you have patience, and this could be in anything, it could be in a voluntary behavior, like Melon doesn't really mind her nails getting dremelled. It's been easy from the very beginning. But cleaning her ears is just something that she doesn't like, and doing it a little slower might feel like it takes longer in the beginning, but goodness, does it get so much easier. And then it's like, wow, I have a dog that's coming up to me and practically laying her head in my hand for the ear wash because she knows that it's treat time. And same thing with the lure. You just have a little patience. Yeah, cooperative care and all of that. We both have experience in working in vet clinics, and I think there's a revolution that's already happening with how we watch their behavior and how we respond to it. And that's not to say that there aren't times where, especially for their own good, you just have to get something done. I have had a lifetime of handling dogs and horses and all sorts of animals in many different ways. And it's never to say that just because you might have to hold your dog for a nail trim, that's bad. I'm not saying that the only way has to be cooperative, but if you're willing to be a little patient and to try watching and trying to respond to them and adapting what you're doing based on them, it's so rewarding. It's so rewarding.
It's so rewarding. And it also puts you into a better position to be in situations like at the vet. Not only will you be proud of your dog for succeeding in that environment, your veterinary staff is going to thank you because you have just prevented absolute chaos. You've prevented struggle. You've prevented them from having to manhandle your dog, and potentially you've stopped a bite from happening. So It's not just for you and your dog, it's for other people too. If more people understood that how we are training, how we are managing, how we are interacting with our dogs, and the ripple effect that that has throughout the community is so huge, I think a few more people might sit down and take that time and be willing. That's my hope.
Not just hope, I think it will happen. I think we're already on the way there. You and I think we're early to the party, but more and more people want this. It has to be community driven. It has to be people making that change. Then you'll see the larger entities and organizations and larger education for, veterinarians and the rest of it, that will come. Just for a second, because you mentioned that it can benefit the places that you have to take your dogs to as well. I went down the rabbit hole and was reading a bunch of stuff on like science and behavior. One thing that I found really fascinating was, and it's common sense. So much of it is common sense, but it's amazing to know that the science backs it up. And disclaimer, I'm not a scientist. I'm not a veterinarian. I'm not even a professional dog trainer. So I am just a lowly dog addict who has been on her own journey for very many years and learning things oftentimes the hard way. So when I can help somebody shortcut their learning experience, I feel like I've done my job. But what I learned recently was that in the science of play, actually, dogs will not express playful behavior until they feel comfortable in their environment. So sometimes I go to a big public event and I have a dog come out into the middle of the field and the owner's holding on to them and their tail is tucked so far under their belly and they're maybe looking up with fearful eyes at their owner. You can see the whale eye and they're not even noticing the flag. And in those moments, I let the handler or the owner know, look, this is such a big environment here. I don't think they're going to be able to comfortably come out of their shell. If you had it in your backyard, it might be different. But today, I don't think the right thing to do is to try to unclip them and push them at it. It's not going to work. So, with that in mind, additionally, if they do feel comfortable and confident, playing does something chemically to the brain that makes them more social, more open, more confident. When I did this, after I read, this was late last year, after I was reading some of this stuff, I actually tried it out because I had to take a Melon to the vet. It was fascinating. So it said vigorous play. So if you can vigorously play for 15 minutes to 20 minutes before you have to go into a situation that you know is going to be a little stressful, it literally will help chemically alter their mental state, and also their body will be looser. So I did it. I played Swift Paws, came inside, we walked through that cycle, and I spent 20 minutes, and then we got in the car and we went to the vet, and she had, I kid you not, the best, happiest vet visit we have ever had. And the other thing I did was, she's a little bit of a resource guarder, not necessarily with food from humans, but with definitely with food with other dogs. And then with space, she can be very fearful. So when I'm in a tiny vet room with her and somebody enters, that is a trigger. And so what I did was, I called ahead. My vet's wonderful. So they were willing to accommodate. And I said, when we get there, can I hand her over to you? Because I actually know that she does better. This is not going to work for every dog. Certainly not every fearful dog. You have to know that. But I know with her, she's far more gregarious and willing. If I am not there as I'm going to cling to mom, and then anybody coming at me is a threat. I just walked right in and handed her over, and they said she was doing tricks for them, and we didn't have any shaking, and we didn't have any tail tuck. And when they brought her, because I had Piper with me too, when they brought her back into the room, we were all in the room together, and it was the most comfortable I've ever seen her in that situation. I might have gone off on a tangent there, but the science of play is important. It is important, and enrichment is important. And that's why you can't see it, but I have a couple neon signs in my office, and one of them says play well. And that's become a concept for me. We need to learn how to play well with our pets and play better together, because play can be a conduit. It can be that highway to a more confident, happy, well-adjusted life.
I love how much we are on the same page, because my training, I call it play-based training. I don't call it obedience. I don't call it enrichment. I call it a play-based training, because the very first thing I teach you is something so simple, and we turn it into a game. And that game then becomes a consistent pattern that you use throughout all of the rest of your training, so that your dog always knows that there's this back and forth interaction between two of you, and that it's a safe place to look to you and ask for help if they get stuck. I think that it's so important, and so many people don't realize that there is so much value in play, and how much it changes that relationship between you and your dog.
Yeah, that's awesome. That is awesome.
Why don't you tell everybody a little bit about how to get connected with you, where they can find Swift Paws, and all the things?
Yeah, we are easy to find. If you type Swift Paws into anything, any social media, a web browser, you can type in swiftpaws.com and you'll go straight to our website. That is the easiest way. And pretty much anywhere you want to be social, we are there. We love hearing people's stories too. We love it if you have Swift Paws, or even if you're doing your own enrichment journey. We have a community group that is a public open group on Facebook if you use Facebook. And we love to talk about all things enrichment in there, also all things behavior. It is very product focused. There's a lot of users in there who are giving each other tips and tricks and saying when they have problems and helping each other. But we also like to have larger conversations in there too. So you don't even have to join the group because it's public and open. You can just go and lurk and comment if you want to, and then join it if you feel that it has value. But we are all over. If you're open to looking at our products and you want to add something like this, I will be very straightforward. They are an investment. All of our home series kits are physically made right here, less than a mile away from where I'm sitting at our warehouse. So they are a bit of an investment, but for that, you get what you pay for sometimes. We are an American-based company. We stand behind our product. We have a warranty. We have a return policy. We care. We're not hard to find. We're not hard to get a hold of if you need help from us. And so we do stand behind our products, but also you don't have to, like I said earlier, spend a dime to add enrichment to your pet's day. So if you just want to connect with us and you want to share about your journey and talk, we love that too. Whether or not you're buying our products, you can seriously add to our community and you can add to the conversation. So I want to let people know that as well, because for me, it's a larger picture. And the fact that I also get to make and sell enrichment products is icing on the cake. You can buy our products off of swiftpaws.com, Amazon, Chewy as well. And because of the show where we got to meet in person, we are also entering into some retail as well. So we have a locator. If you want to find either a partner, maybe a training partner, you could even book a Swift Paw session to see if your pet likes it. Because that's a huge question, is will my pet like it? And I don't know the answer to that because every pet is unique. We do have that 30-day return policy. So if you know it's expensive, so if your pet doesn't like it, we want you to be able to return it. And we actually take those returns, we refurbish them, and then we donate them to shelters and rescues. So no hard feelings. If it doesn't work out for somebody, know that that unit is going to go to good use. Even if you've used and abused it for 30 days and your pet just never quite got the hang of it, send it back. We'll put it to good use and we'll give you your money back. Hopefully a lot more retailers will start carrying it. We have a wonderful network of trainers and what we call our professional partners, who is a great way to introduce your dog to it, especially if you have questions of, I want to make sure I'm introducing them the right way. No better way to do that than through a professional's help. And we'd love to hear from everybody.
I love that. I love that you guys are getting some more exposure, and I love that you guys donate back the ones that get returned. So one more final thing, would you tell everybody about the award that you won? Because you did win a pretty nifty award while we were at Expo.
Yeah, we are still on cloud nine because of that. So the Global Pet Expo that just happened in March was the first show where we had our full retail display available to retailers. Previously, we have really only been direct to consumer, and so we're super excited to be at a scale now where we can start offering this in stores. We had entered our product into the new product showcase. There's over 1,000 products there in a bunch of different categories, and we won Best in Show for Pet Tech Innovation. It was just so cool. It was so cool.
It was very cool. And the funniest part about this, you guys, is Megan wins this award. And as she's winning the award, I'm walking over to her booth to ask her, hey, I had a cancellation. Would you like to come record for the podcast? So I got to see her right after she won the award. And you were just elated, and it was really cool to see you in that space and see all of your hard work paying off and just get to experience that moment with you. It was so cool.
It was really special, and those moments don't happen all the time, so you have to hold on to them when they do. Nobody's around when you're having the low points, and there's plenty of them in business, but it is so amazing to be able to share the success. And also I feel it's a win for enrichment and play as a whole, because this was an industry show. It's not open to the public. It's buyers, suppliers, manufacturers, brands. It is open as well to some certain influencers, but it's a very curated show. I wasn't the only enrichment product. There was a bird enrichment product that took home 2 awards. The wave of enrichment is coming. People are talking about it. Brands are starting to want to create products that speak to it, and that's awesome. That's awesome.
It is awesome, and I'm so excited for it. I can't wait to see what else starts coming out, and I hope that people are inspired by this and start wondering what they can create to make their dogs' lives better, because that's how it happens. Sometimes it's the dumbest, biggest mistake or accidental discovery that turns into the coolest possible thing that could help our dogs. So what would you like to leave our listeners with today, Megan?
If there was one thing that I could leave the listeners with, it would be listen to yourself. Because so many times in my personal history, especially with my newest dog, Melon, but with so many of my pets over time, internally, I'll feel myself retract, or I'll feel my body tense up in an uncomfortable situation. And goodness, have we trained ourselves to ignore what we know. Listening to yourself helps you listen to your pets better. If there's one thing in my journey, it's that I've had so many successes. We were on Shark Tank. That was amazing. I won Lori's Golden Ticket. And then we won another industry prize last year, the Pet Care Innovation Prize by Purina. And now the Global Pet Tech Innovation. But those high points, those are great validators. But those things don't happen if you're ignoring yourself. I've struggled with self-worth since the time I was really, really little. So starting to find those measures of success have helped me. And if anything, I am less likely to hold on to that ego and try to protect myself and not want to shake things up, sometimes at the detriment of my own animal. I'll put my animal in an uncomfortable situation because I'm too afraid to speak up. That's one thing. If I could go back and tell 16-year-old myself who got that miniature pinscher, it would be, you know more than you think you know. And don't be afraid to listen to yourself and then discover what that means.
I don't think that any guest message has ever resonated with me more. So thank you so much for sharing that, because I feel that within the depths of my soul. That is pretty much the whole reason that I started this podcast, was because I know more and I need to share it. It needs to be out there, and we need to continue having these conversations and listening to each other and not being afraid to tackle these big, huge problems in the dog world.
Thank you, Anne. I have had the chance now to go and see certain episodes, and you've had so many amazing guests on. But what comes through is your passion for sharing this and for truly educating, not in a way that sounds like you're preaching or you have to do this or you're a bad pet parent, but really in a way that is, you're on a learning journey yourself and you have come so far. Shines through. You're such a kind and thoughtful soul of a human being that it spills over into your training. And I've seen now a couple of episodes where, say, somebody was talking about lazy enrichment or energy efficient enrichment.
Yeah.
I think that was, and I
Lauren.
yeah,
Sit, stay, Stella.
Sit, stay, Stella. That's it. And it just, like, so many of those conversations, you get to the heart of it, and then it's really a joyful conversation. So thank you. I love what you're doing. I can't wait to continue to follow your journey. And you have had amazing guests on, like my good friend Chrissy Joy, and you're going to continue to have so many awesome guests. And I can't wait to stay connected with you as well.
Thank you so much. That means the world to me. I'm very lucky to have become friends with Lauren and Chrissy, myself as well. It's such an incredible community, and there are so many people out there that I can't wait to work with. But I am very excited to continue to collaborate with you and see where we can take this podcast and Swift Paws to the next level. All right, you guys, thanks for being here, and we will see you next week on Straight Up Dog Talk. Thanks for tuning into this episode of Straight Up Dog Talk, sponsored by our friends at Swift Paws and trusted by trainers, vets, doggy daycares, and even places like the San Diego Zoo. If you're looking for a way to give your dog more mental stimulation, physical exercise, and that happy, tired smile we all love, Swift Paws is it. Their Lure Course kits are easy to use, fun for everyone, and have been a total game changer in my house, especially for Fitz. To learn more and check out their kits, head to swiftpaws.com and be sure to follow them on Instagram for more enrichment inspo. You can even use our code SUDT10 to save on your purchase today. Give your dog the joy of chase, safely, smartly, and with Swift Paws.